After a mediocre first film and the awful drivel that was Revenge of the Fallen, Michael Bay has once again returned to the director's seat for yet another Transformers film. God help us. This time, however, he has promised it won't suck. With the drop of Megan Fox, could it be this film wasn't horrendous after all? No. If I were to try sum up the film with a single word, even terrible wouldn't do it justice. The film is a 3-hour-long crapfest, of which the first hour is literally pointless. The third is nothing but CGI, and the stuff in between is plot that quite frankly may as well have been written in pig Latin for all the sense that it made. The film was consistently poor, so much so that I'd struggle to point out all of its flaws in a single review. So I'm going to try and point out only what I feel are the most major problems. Firstly, we'll start off with the plot. The film starts off with a small and admittedly fairly impressive CGI sequence in which Optimus Prime, our main robot, explains a bit of the backstory, after which we have about an hour or so of Sam, our protagonist, portrayed by Shia LaBeouf, engaging in battle. But not with the evil forces of the Decepticons, no. For the first hour, he battles with unemployment. Yes, you heard that right. In a film that sells itself on massive robot battles, we spend the first hour watching a man attend job interviews and whine about how no one will hire him despite having saved the world and being given a medal off Obama. Yes, you heard that right as well. Our protagonist was awarded a medal from a fictional Obama for his role in the story of the first two films. It's a reoccurring joke throughout the film and comes across as ridiculous. Speaking of ridiculous, you may be wondering where amongst this are all the giant fighting robots? Well, they come in later when, amongst all the pointless whining from Sam, it is somewhere explained to us that NASA's push to be the first space station to visit the moon was not due to a battle for supremacy with the Soviet Union, but instead the reason for the push was actually so that Buzz Aldrin could carry out a top secret mission to investigate the possibility of a giant alien transformer that has crash landed on the dark side of the moon. And I'm not even making this up. I could natter on and on about how the rest of the film is just as nonsensical, but it would be pointless. At the end of the day, while the plot entirely deserves to be lambasted, the story element could be forgiven if the film had any entertaining merit. After all, you don't go see a Transformers film for an artistic and moving tale, do you? You go to see big giant robots hitting each other in the face with buildings. However, even in this aspect of the film was a failure. Rather than let the ridiculous script act as a vehicle for the action set pieces, the film forces you to watch an hour of poor acting before any of that stuff happens, and then when it does, it still manages to be dull. After having to watch Shia LaBeouf do nothing for ages, is admittedly fun once the Transformers finally start to mindlessly bash each other about for at least the first 5 minutes anyway. Almost immediately, the very thing that you came to see the film for is the very thing you hate most about it. With the exception of a few sequences dotted here and there that have the undeniable wow factor, most of the fights just look like someone smashing pieces of scrap metal together in front of the camera. The robots all look stupidly over-detailed and samey, which makes duels between them achieve nothing more than give you a headache as you try to work out what the hell it is you're supposed to be watching. In the end, seeing Transformers 3 at the cinema was like how I imagine a visit to a seedy brothel feels. An exchange of money is made and then you're guided to a darkened room. At first, you're all excited, nervous of what could possibly happen, but as soon as you start getting what you paid for, you slowly start to fill with regret and shame, eventually leaving feeling cheap and dirty. If that sounds appealing, then Transformers 3 is the film for you. If not, do yourself a favour and don't go and see it. Unless you really need to watch some fighting robots, and even if that is the case, only resort to this film if you have exhausted the far superior animated series of children's shows.